Stacy part 2.
You mean put 7?
2.0.
Here, leave that on there. Just finish.
What do you mean finish?
Wait, what do you got? You got the Norns and the Wells and
The realms.
I need to do the gods and the goddesses and the 9 noble virtues.
you're probably right. Probably take that off.
So you want to set this up there? I told you I needed the other
Whoops,
thing.
sorry.
I wanted paper. Do we have enough?
I feel like this could fit on there.
Maybe.
What
Yeah,
does
mine
he
is
want?
able to.
Yeah.
Put it all around his house. He won't care.
All that needs to go with
He's
Sharon.
moving anyways.
Huh?
All that needs to go with Sharon.
I already sent her
Go in.
I told her
Sharon's
she
already
needs to
got
do
all
her
that
ex
stuff.
first.
Let's try some gods on there.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You trying to ditch me? My goodness.
Maybe that's what's invested in the time. Well, don't come to me if you want to go back.
Where's dinner?
Smoking.
What?
Is that heavy?
No, she's not hitting me. They're trying to play that stupid game over there. Her writing keeps getting smaller the farther down
It
she
does
goes.
too? I think it's part of it. If she's in enough room.
I knew he was gonna do that.
What did it say? I didn't get.
Loki.
Okay, I didn't get to read it before. I think she did that just because she knew you was
I
there.
did. I did.
See? She's fucking with you. You better
Like how
get-
she put him right after Kavasser, the freaking culmination of everything great of all the gods,
Right?
and then Loki, the freaking worst of the worst.
So did Alina send you the hammer for her?
I'm going to present her and Lena text me a speech.
Oh, snap. Any more?
Grab a. Where's
I mean,
dinner
I
at?
put
Keep
more
going?
on, but-
I think you're good.
Grab dinner.
I think you're
I
good.
think you can add another.
Hold on, let's
I
see.
think you can add
No,
another-
read them to us.
So this is Baldur, Bragi, Thor, Buri, Dog, Belly, Corsetti, Freyr, Frey, Hermod, Heimdall, Code, the Seer, Magni, Mani, Vimir, Modi, Njord, Odin, Thor, Ol, Tyr, Vali, Ve, Vili, and Vidar.
Goddamn good.
Alright, well, let me see it. Let me see it. Is this it? Neither of you get it. Can't play nice.
Yep, Sarah, here we go.
Gotta crawl under the table.
No way.
Is Freya's husband on there?
Frey's husband is not.
told you could do one more.
I'm impressed.
Pretty good. No. Trust
You
me.
want me to get a gear on there too?
You want to you can just do the whole other line. You can at least get another list on there. For sure.
Goddesses.
So there's like 28 on it.
Is oh yeah, there he is.
27. Your dad crossed one out. 'Cause
Who's
You added one.
Magni and Modi?
Magni and Modi are Thor's kids. Magni is the god of might or bravery, brute strength, and then Modi is the god of courage or bravery.
Do you know?
That's next to
Do you know what happens after Ragnarok and who comes back? Or not?
Baldur.
Baldur and
I don't know. I can't think of it right now.
And she's still not turning red yet, so your job's not done.
Slacking.
go ahead and get the goddesses on the other side of it. Wait, was there any other?
Knocked off 27. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I
I'm
mean,
good.
see how many goddesses she
It's
gets.
one of those lodges on the first column could be answers. That screwed me up for a minute.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what?
She's doing pretty good right now.
Guys, fill it out.
Hey, all you guys know everybody's got to clean up everything before the meeting, right? You guys know that already?
Even you try. So I'm updating Aaliyah throughout this whole thing. She says she wants to see your notes.
You do not. There's hours and hours.
You don't know Aaliyah then.
She got ran on there.
She's got hours where she says this, wake up and test me. Wake up and test me.
Yes. That's dedication.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Just test me. Alright. Alright, I'll test you. I test her and pass out in the middle of testing her.
Damn.
Is there about
What
enough?
the heck is
And
that?
out. There's gonna be one brought yet.
Out.
So,
What in the
brought
world?
It's like
She's like, I got one more. Hold on.
what's it called? Despicable Me,
I mean, if you really want.
right?
One more.
That's where that's,
One more.
yeah, that's
Come
where
on.
that's from.
Oh, there you go. No. Oh. Read them all. Read them all.
That
Can I read them all?
Oh, you want me to read them all?
You read all the
Ire,
passages.
Ellie, Freya, Frigg, Fulla, Gefjon, Gerd, Idun, Jord, Lofen, Nana, Not, Astara, Ron, Sith, Skadi, Snotra, Sol, Thrud, Vor, and Saga.
what are you gonna ask, kid?
So that first one is that?
That one?
Yes.
E.I.
That's I.
Your dad corrected me on the ones over there, remember? The realms.
Pretty good.
I
mean, he's searching for something to fuck with you on, and he's searching right now in his
I
head.
know.
I think it's like the third time I've actually seen him stumped.
He's going. He's trying real
I
hard
know.
right now.
now he's got something going in there.
He's trying. Yeah, it's going. He's having to work for it though.
Which god or goddess do you look to and why?
Which god or goddess do I look to? I look to Snotra because she, her name actually means clever or wise, but she's all about the virtues like hospitality, self-control. She's kind and looks at others not by what they, what others see, but by who they are.
You got anything? You said, yeah,
Yeah,
your
so-
fingers came out.
Yeah,
for a minute. Nope.
So, why are Sol and Mani up there?
They're the god of the moon and goddess of the sun.
How many?
I guess I don't really have to tell you. I don't really get to have you tell a story or nothing right now. So.
Not yet.
I think they'd be
You
fine.
going that far to get her?
Well,
Just say I ain't got nothing. Just say it. Just say it.
I can't say it.
Just say it. We all know it. Just let him think and move on.
Alright.
Just go.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Told
good.
you all I needed to do was finish school. Once I got school out of the way,
That was it.
done.
Yeah.
I think that's the most gods and goddesses somebody's done I've ever done.
Junior did quite a
Did you
bit.
do? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're definitely.
Because they said, how many are you going to do? And he said, all of them. I wasn't even a hammer rover at that point, and I remember that.
Guess who's gonna be mad after he sees the first gods and goddesses?
He's mad at
So
you.
this man being
Where's Moose at?
He's behind,
He's behind me.
You can show me this here and put it on. Show the virtues and stuff.
I was asleep when she got those.
I think she needs to learn how to sleep. That's what it sounds like.
I don't think you'd sleep with her kid either.
Yeah, no kidding.
Come on, man. Half the time when she woke me up, he's sleeping.
Because she just got him to sleep.
Yeah.
This woman was on a mission. And she was going after cash.
Ah,
Loki on there, watch him scratch him out. Watch.
What were you?
What was it you said? She'd had her hammer test before.
You
And she said,
And then Cash said something, and she's like, "All right."
Well, technically,
School's out.
Yule started last night. Just putting that out there.
Oh,
Pick the day.
Why
I
not?
did. That's why I
Pick the
did.
day. I was ready a week and a half ago.
Yep.
Kaden, can you read those?
You want me to write it out? I'll write it out.
Hold on. No, let him read them.
I don't know the magnet of virtues myself.
You want me to write them out?
Yes.
have Samsung. I do not. You can blame Kaz for that one because he took it out of my car.
Because her car was recalled.
No, because he doesn't know how to put his phone on the charger sometimes.
no, it's not a Samsung. I have my charger with me. Wait a minute. I have my son's Samsung charger with me. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of different sets of noble virtues that different groups use. This is great. I like it a lot. The Assyrian Code of 9 is where all of the people drew their virtues from, right? And I just would challenge you to look up the Assyrian Code of 9 and look at it. It was written in like the 11th century in Denmark, and it's truer to our folk. Like you'll find the 9 noble virtues where it has like freedom over slavery, and like self-reliance. Wow,
This all comes from off the videos that you guys did from other people doing it.
Yeah. And so you didn't really even have to do that, because we took out the noble virtues because of the variances and everybody finding different stuff. And then when you do your journeyman's test next week, you'll be able to you'll do the Assyrian Code of 9, and yeah, awesome.
Okay, am I done now?
No,
You mean I can't skip the myth?
no,
Oh, hell no.
go right into the
I
creation.
want you to write that shit down in notes. I feel cheated if you don't at this point.
Why don't you go up there? How about she tells the story, you go up there and scribe it for her.
Yeah.
I can't write nowhere near as fast as she does in rooms.
Right, tell us how it all began.
Oh, okay. So
Go that way a little bit so they can see you. There you go. Perfect.
So before there was land or sea or anything green, there was a big gaping chasm called the Ginunga Gap, full of darkness and emptiness. And to the right, or to the north of this Ginunga Gap, was Niflheim, filled with cold rivers and mist and fog. And to the south of the Ginunga Gap was Muspelheim, filled with fire and sparks and brightness. And over the years, the rivers from Niflheim flowed into the Ginunga Gap, and they froze, forming blocks of ice. And the sparks and flame crept into the Ginunga Gap and started to melt the ice. And from the melting ice formed Ymir, the giant. And so as Ymir was there, he was a hermaphrodite giant, and he went searching for food to nourish himself, and he came across Adunla, which is a cow, and there was 4 rivers of milk flowing from her teats, and he began to drink from those 4 rivers. And as she was looking for nourishment herself, she began licking the saltiness of the ice. And on the first day of her licking the salty ice, she uncovered hair. And on the second day, she uncovered an entire head. And on the third day, she uncovered an entire body. And there stood the first of the gods, basically, which was Buri. While Ymir slept, the sweat from his armpits created a male and a female, and his legs reproduced a 6-headed son called Thurgamir. And Buri bore a son named Bor, and he married a giantess named Besla, and they had Odin, Billy, and Bay.
No.
And over time, the giants kept reproducing and causing havoc and mayhem. And so the 3 brothers decided that it was time to kill Ymir and create this world. And so while he slept, they went and they attempted to kill him, and after a long battle, they decapitated him, and the blood from his neck flooded all the other giants except for Bergelmir and his wife, and they ran off into a hollowed out log, which is called a lure, and it can be considered a boat or a coffin. And they went off into what we know as Jotunheim. And the three gods, Odin, Vili, and Ve, dragged Ymir's body into the middle of the Ginnunga Gap, where they proceeded to create the world, cosmos. And they took his flesh and they made the lands. His hair was the vegetation, the trees and the plants. His brains, they made the clouds. His teeth, they made the gravel. His bones were the boulders, or the mountains, and his broken bones were the boulders. And they used his eyebrows for the wall of Midgard, to protect Midgard from the giants. And they took his skull and used it as the dome of the sky. And from Ymir's rotting flesh were maggots, and the three brothers gave them intelligence and formed dwarves. And they took 4 of them dwarves and named them Nordri, Sandri, Vestri, and Adri, and put them in the 4 corners to hold up the dome of the sky. And they took sparks from Muspelheim and threw them up in the sky for the stars. And they were walking along the newly created beach, and they came across 2 logs, one from an ash tree and one from an elm tree, and they carved out 1 male and 1 female, and they named the male Ask and the female Embla. And Odin breathed life into them. Vili gave them movement and speech and intellect, and Ve gave them their blood and their blooming hue. And those are the 2 that we all are produced from, is Ask and Embla. And Odin came across 2 giant children named Mani and Sol, after the sun and moon, and he took them from Jotunheim and put them up in the sky in chariots. And Sol had 2 horses, and Mani had 1, and that's how we've got summer and winter as they keep going. And to keep them continuing on their journey, Odin created 2 wolves named Hadi and Skull to chase after Mani and Sol, to continue the circling life. And our night and day came from the goddess Night and her son Dag, and they got put up in the sky to create our hours of the day, where we have night and day. And the gods decided that they wanted their world to see over all the other worlds. So they built their palace or whatever you want to call it on the plain of Idaval, and there they created their hall, their palace, and Odin could see over all of the realms, and the Bifrost Bridge is what they use to transport to each realm. And trying to remember everything else. I think that's about it. My brain's on overload right now.
So, which tree was Ask made out of, and which tree was Embla?
Ask was made out of ash tree, and Embla was made out of elm tree.
Okay, and so I have another one, which is, what is a solar eclipse?
Oh, the solar eclipse, good one, is from Haiti taking a bite out of Mani, out of the moon, but Mani can't manage to get away and heal himself, and so that's how we get our eclipse. Good job, Hayden.
Great story.
Okay. Now can I be done?
Nope. One clarifying thing.
Yes.
Immer is not a hermaphrodite. He is sexless, so neither man nor woman, not both man and woman.
Okay.
Just there's a couple other things that I'll talk to you later about.
Okay. Same things I talked to you about before? Was it the same things I talked to you about before?
No.
Oh.
Great job.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the myth of your choosing.
Oh my gosh. How long does it have to be?
20 minutes to 3 hours.
No way.
No, however long you want.
There's no time requirement.
Okay. So, as I said before, I really relate to Snotra, and her name means clever or wise. She's the goddess of virtues, self-control, and elevation. And so I'm going to tell a little story that kind of relates to Snotra and all of us. So once upon a time in Midgard, there was a county named Grace Harbor who, there was a group of individuals who one day decided that they wanted to make up their own kindred and learn and teach the ways of Ásatru. And so they gathered together and talked about things that they would need to do in order to create this kindred. And they began doing bloats throughout the years and gathering family and friends together and talking about our ancestors. And one day there were a married couple who, a Snope couple, wise couple, who decided that they were going to come and teach us their ways. And this couple was named Stephen and Sheila McNallen. And they taught this group of their ways and how they do their kindreds and their Ásatru. And they separated the group into two different groups. The men in one group and the women in another group. And Stephen went off and talked to the men in his group, and Sheila went and talked to the women in her group and told them of the women's mysteries. So upon the women learning these mysteries that are specifically for the women. It's a secret.
What
So
are
you
they?
you men don't get to know. The women later on at our next float, we gathered together away from the men, and we whispered amongst each other and did some of these women mysteries. And looking around at all of you,
Turn red finally.
I'm just blessed to be a big part of this kindred and this family. To be able to learn from all of you, from my friends, old friends, making new friends, teaching our children and our other family members what we learn and teach each other is a blessing, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. So, I love you all.
Alu! Alu! Alu!
Is that good enough?
You're not fucking
Are we
red.
good
You're not
enough
red
for
enough.
you?
You're not fucking red enough.
Chris.
Yes. Alright. So, in lieu of Alina not being here, because she is working, because she is the badass that she is,
She is a badass.
she wanted me to say a few words in her
I love you,
stead.
Alina.
That's not
Wait
it.
a minute. No.
Okay,
Just kidding.
so this hammer right here, this was gifted to us when me and her got married. And it's... Alright, let me just pick it up. It is sacred to us. I give this gift to you with both hands, that you continue on this journey with the same diligence, self-respect, and focus as you showed in getting your hammer. You're amazing, and I'm proud to call you a sister. So with two hands, I give you this gift.
With two hands, I accept.
Alu!
Now that's got to go on YouTube. She put a video of me on YouTube, and it wasn't a funny one. I didn't find it.
I bet it was a funny one.
No, it was funny to us.
It was probably funny to us.
Funny
It's not
to
to
us.
you. He was in the non-funny spot at that time.
Give her a hug.
Yeah, your old lady helped.
Yeah, boy, I would have hoped.
I learned a lot from you. Watching you.